Hi everybody, I'm James Behan. I'm one of the full-time art faculty at Mountain View College, and I am here today to take a look at a very fine painting, and I'm going to be focusing on the use of the elements and the principles. But we'll start with a little bit of a history. This is The Murder of Laius by Oedipus, and this painting was created by Joseph Blanc. Now we know it was a really popular painting when it was first presented because it won the Prix de Rome prize, which is kind of like winning a gold medal in the Olympics. He received 3 years of paid living and working in Rome. So this was, we know that this was a very popular painting. And one of the things we can look at is the elements and principles to see why it was so popular. Because there's a lot of stuff going on. First off, a little bit more about it. We know that it was painted at the tail end of the Romantic era, beginning into modernism. So with this painting we see a lot of evidence of the neoclassical and also the romantic styles. So there's a whole lot going on. It's kind of like a mashup of different periods all in one. So it's at a real pivotal point in history. So first off, let's look at the construct of the painting. We can talk about lines. The lines we see, such as the arms and the legs and all the weapons and spears and everything, those are all very strong diagonals and curves. Now, as an artist, so I'm looking at the mind of Joseph as the artist, I know that diagonals and curves create a lot of action. Okay, a lot of turbulence. So this is a very dynamic scene. He's presenting that moment where one man is slain by another. So this has to be full of drama. So the lines, for example, support that. The next thing we can look at is value. Value is the degree of lightness and darkness. Now, there's both high key light on the figures, but also very dark moments in the image. So this is very dramatic lighting, almost theater-like, which creates, again, that heightened sense of drama. We can also look at shapes, and we see a lot of organic forms in the figures, and organic forms, again, create excitement and instability. But in the middle of everything, we see this huge triangle. Do you see the triangle with the two figures, the two main figures? And that triangle is sitting right in front of the image. And it's an implied shape. So it's not very present. It's kind of suggested by the figures. Now, for Joseph to put that triangle right in the middle of that painting, he knows that we like to look at triangles. We'll stare at them. And it creates a very solid composition, okay, without being too stuffy. One of the last things we want to talk about with regard to elements is the issue of color. It's kind of twofold what's going on here. It's called a naturalistic palette. So the color is the way we see. So it's very kind of warm and natural, and that makes us feel comfortable. But the four-color process that we see, the reds, the yellows, the greens, and the blues, make this what is called a full-color palette. And that, again, is very exciting. So based on the elements alone, we see a very fresh, exciting, turbulent scene being played out before us. Now with the composition, we can talk about, first off, the fact that it is called an open composition. An open composition means that the scene extends beyond the frame of the painting. So more is going on outside of the image. That type of composition, an open composition, creates a sense of instability and fear or excitement. So again, we see the artist using elements and principles to really kind of create and support the idea of drama. And the original audience that would have seen this painting would have responded to all these cues, just like we do today. The elements and principles are still used by artists everywhere. And lastly, what has happened to this painting since it was first exhibited? What we know again is this painting was at the tail end of Romanticism and the beginning of Modernism. So while it was really popular in its day, it's not as popular today because the paintings that we remember from the 1860s are the artists like Monet or Degas. It has a really special place as a transitional work of art between periods, but it's a work of art that tends to be looking back to Romanticism and Neoclassical rather than looking forward.